What is going on, guys? Welcome back to True Story, greatest podcast in the world. You know who this is. This is The Truth, Piers Austin, and we're about to get into it one more time with the lovely April Hunter, and let's get into it right now. Break it down like this. And I was like, really? Like, baby face and the heels were going over. Dude, I thought he broke his neck. The greatest podcast in the world. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the greatest podcast in the world, True Story. And I'm joined by one of my favorite people in the entire world. And I know that I say that about every guest, but this time I actually really mean it. The one, the only, the lovely Miss April Hunter. Welcome back.
Hello. Nice to see you again. Thanks for having me.
It's great to see you again, and welcome back. It's a pleasure and an honor. The last time we had you on was a great conversation. Our audience absolutely loved it. There was a lot of great, amazing comments there as well. So, also I think we rattled a few feathers as well when we touched on politics in the last one as well. So let's see how many people we can piss off in an hour conversation, right?
Exactly. I'm not here to please the people. I'm here to say some truths, it's like, it's interesting, the things that, and I don't know how you can be the greatest podcast when clearly the A show with April Hunter is the greatest podcast. But,
you know what, I claim to be the greatest podcast, but you guys are the awesomest podcast in the world. How about that?
Yes, you're wonderful. You are wonderful. But yeah, I the things, if you go back with that we've been saying for so long, it just keep coming true. So, take our truths with less of an offense, people, and more of an open mind, I think.
Well, it's like that saying that was going around for a while. It's like, we silence the intelligent to not offend the idiots.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, you know what I mean? Like, we're trying to, overprotect and I think cotton woolenize a minority of people, where the world can be a big, tough, scary place sometimes, and sometimes some hard truths are hard to take from intelligent people to people that lack education or knowledge or basic intelligence.
I don't even know if it's intelligence, because a lot of very intelligent people fell for the narrative and swear that they were doing the right thing. I think it's more, this is going to sound crazy, but, I routinely sound crazy, so that's okay. I think it's more of like an emotional intelligence, or even like a soul knowing and just following that intuition, or having, I don't know, if you've been reincarnated multiple times, you've seen things over and over again, and you're more perceptive to this type of thing. And so, one of my friends had a theory that the new souls that are here are the ones that fell for it. And they can be the ones with all the letters behind their names and all the degrees. And you saw a lot of the people out there that were basic, simple people who were just like, no. A lot of didn't finish school, never went to college. And they were like, no, I see this bullshit happening. So it doesn't necessarily mean, someone was uneducated or versus educated. I think it was a knowing or a not knowing, a paying attention, the ability to see, the people who didn't lose their third eye or their intuition. I mean, after all, the pilgrims who came to America, were they the most intelligent people, or were they the ones that saw where it was going, jumped in a boat and said, out, I'm out?
Yeah. Or just followed the majority of people as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. So,
it's interesting though, because if you look back at times like that, and even, when like the Fifth Amendment, right, was written, it was like the education level of what they were back then, and how like certain bylaws, and how I think like the really true blue Australians as well. But like, you see, how a lot of Americans are like strict on that Fifth Amendment. This is what, you guys live by almost, but it's like, it hasn't evolved over time. Whereas like there's a lot of things now happening in 2024 where, there's certain things like in schools, it's not called a Christmas holiday, it's called the holiday season. And you know what I mean? Like that sort of stuff.
Yes.
Whereas like
Yeah.
when I grew up in the 80s and 90s, you know what I mean? So to me, that shit is wild
Yeah.
because it's like that was, when I grew up, shit was like absolutely insane during that period. And now it's just cotton wool society.
Yeah. Do you mean our Fifth Amendment is not speaking? Do you mean our First Amendment of free speech?
First
Is
Amendment. Oh, sorry. No,
yeah.
no.
Okay.
What was,
So
yeah, I don't know. Yeah, sorry.
that's
I get
okay.
it
No,
confused.
I totally get you. Yeah, our free speech amendment is being completely violated. It's very uh as a writer and a journalist and somebody, who has, a lot of education behind that and some letters, that's very disconcerting for me to see.
Mm,
Yeah, they were the people who wrote our Constitution were extremely educated and had seen a lot. And the reason they did it the way they did was because they didn't want, this country to happen and fall the way they'd seen other countries in history. And
sure.
with our First Amendment of free speech and keeping religion, as much as I am a big fan of spirituality, they wanted to keep religion out of government because of the abuse of power of the church. Um,
Mhm.
that was the very First Amendment.
Yeah.
16th, it could have been the 5th, it could have been the 23rd, but it was their first thing they wrote. So
Mm.
that's interesting to ponder.
It's just it's like, I mean, I looked at it like I thought it was like it meant all of them, so that's why I was saying the majority. So my American history knowledge isn't too great, but it was like there's certain things that you do see in the media when they're
Mhm.
talking about certain amendments and that. So like, sorry, I got my numbers mixed up or
No, don't worry about
stuff
it.
like
You're not supposed to know our history. I know very little about yours. I do know that it's fascinating that you guys were basically the kind of like the prison area, like the England shipped off their degenerates to Australia. They're like, oh yeah, no, we're just going to ship them all off to Australia. So,
Well, look, if you
so
met most of
that,
my friends, you'd pretty much like go, yeah, I can see that. Like,
I know that's what I think makes the spirit and I mean, that's why I've heard the Australians are so fun and adventurous. Cheers.
yeah, absolutely. Cheers to that.
Mhm.
It's it's crazy though. But what's been happening with you guys over on the A show? Like, I see you guys, consistently putting out some great content. How has that show been going for you guys at the moment?
Well, we're doing a lot of this, the normal.
The Peck Flex, yeah.
Yeah, we do that. We try and get that in as much as possible. We are, we're trying to stay ahead of the news so we can, when I say the news, our media is just so corrupt and corporate owned. Just 6 companies own our news and they're in bed with big pharma, big tech, all of that,
Mm,
FDA. So it's a joke. So giving the people information so they can make real decisions and feel empowered instead of come away from news and feel fearful and depressed and angry, which is what happens when they watch mainstream media. They just kind of come away and they're like, oh, because they've
mm,
taken a page out of the WWE playbook, the wrestling playbook, where they try and trigger your emotions rather than give you actual information and make you feel, well, now I know things. So we've gone back to that original format where we say, okay, this is what's happening. You should be aware of this. It's not going to be. This is what they're not talking about. So
mm,
here's what you need to know, and here's how you can fix this or work around it, or here's the loophole or things like that. And we also like to put up a bunch of some good news stories, and how to live your best life, some health tips, some mental health tips. A lot of that going on here. America's crazy, full of crazy people.
Hey, so's the world. So's the world. It's not just America. Like you see a lot of crazy people,
Yeah.
definitely around in Australia. It's like, I was actually at a grocery store the other week, and like I was just standing there in line, just like staring into nothing. And this guy just like walked into my line of view, stopped in front of me, then looked at me and was like, what the fuck are you looking at? And I'm like, what? And this guy literally just abused me for about a minute in front of like a grocery line full of people. And I just stood there looking at this guy going, what the fuck is happening? And
You
it
should
was
just
like,
answer. You should be like, first off, I'm not looking at my phone. Secondly, why so angry?
oh yeah. I mean, I just looked at him and the only thing I could do was just smile and say, it's all good, man. Like, like I don't know what to tell you. And I'm like, I'm just looking there, and he was just like, I just couldn't believe someone could be that tense. But it's like, man, it's the mental health thing that like people see is like it really gets hidden to a certain extent. Like you have these "Are you okay?" days, and you have these moments and stuff like that. But then I feel like for the rest of the time, a lot of these people get forgotten about and stuff, and they just get to roam the streets. And if you saw it, like what happened, like here in Australia a couple of months back with, a guy going on a murderous rampage in a shopping center and stabbing people, babies and women, and in one of the most busiest shopping centers in Sydney.
I think I did
And
see that.
yeah.
Yeah.
What's even wild to get this right? I used to be the risk and security manager in that shopping center at Bondi, and I used to work there. Where the police officer who shot him, my office used to be directly upstairs from that. Like literally, it was crazy, but I hadn't worked there in like a couple of years. So,
Well, it's hurt people, and we've gotten to the point now, and I believe this was deliberate and planned, where everybody's hurting now. Everybody across the board, thanks to all our globalists, and which they have you ever seen all governments get on the same page so quickly? The globalist agenda and all these governments have gotten us to where everybody has lost something. That is the common thread. We've all, at the very basic level, we've lost our mental health. We've lost time. We've had our marriages and relationships wrecked. We've had our children affected mentally. Many of us have lost family members, or they've been disabled. We're dealing now with side effects and sudden deaths. We have lost small businesses. A lot of small businesses have gone under here. So, and it's a continuing thing. And a lot of us have lost our dignity, and they were using all of this to make new laws and push it through. And now they want to try and do it again because we didn't string them up the first time. Now we have bird flu. So it's go off the food supply and create the terror and the fear. So yeah, this is what we get.
Well, that's what's happened just recently here is like a bunch of chickens got swine flu. So they've had to like cull a bunch of chickens. So now they're saying that eggs are going to be in like high demand and you won't be able to get eggs for X amount of time and all this sort of stuff. And now people are going out and it's the same thing when it was happening in the pandemic. They were saying, we're not going to be able to import toilet paper. And everyone went out and were like having fist fights in like legit fist fights with people.
Yeah,
right?
Here too.
Whereas like where like a couple of months before everyone was like rallying together and supporting each other in solidarity, and then a couple months later we're fist fighting people for stuff to wipe our ass with. You know what I mean? Like it's like what's really happening, and that's what I think, a lot of the time when you said earlier with media is I think media creates a lot of this mass hysteria.
Yeah. And fun tip. If you can't find toilet paper, check out camping toilet paper. Sometimes you can find stuff there.
Camping toilet paper.
So when you get down to nothing, go online and look for camping toilet paper or go to the camping stores. You're welcome.
Oh, really? There you go. Well, if we ever have another global pandemic, we'll make sure
RV toilet paper too. RV stores.
There you go. Everyone's going to be like shooting in. But you know what was crazy? Like I was actually working in a shopping center at the time during the pandemic. And like, like public toilets in like a shopping center, people were like breaking into the
yes,
massive rolls of shit. It was the funniest thing ever.
Yeah. Yeah, I was managing an Airbnb, and people were constantly stealing the toilet paper to the point where I could only put out a little bit at a time. I'm like, oh my god, stop.
Yeah,
So
it's,
yeah, I
yeah,
remember
that's
I was dating at the time too, and I remember that this one guy wrote to me. He's like, so, do you want to meet up? And I was like, yeah, maybe. Cause try and meet them quick because you find out, find out what they're real, if they're real or not. And he's like, well, I could use some toilet paper too. I haven't had toilet paper in 3 days.
oh, dude, that's not a like
Yeah. I was
that's
like,
not sexy at all.
I was like, yeah, I don't think I have time to meet up. Thanks, but no.
Was this a Tinder thing or like where was
I
this?
can't even remember what online thing it was. He'll say, another nearsighted date because I work from home. I'm like, no, no, thank you. I'm good.
Man,
So
but how like do you
I've been
find
used for things before, but toilet paper, come on, fuck off.
yeah, that's kind of wild. Do you feel like guys like with dating and stuff that guys get intimidated by you like in certain because you're a very confident woman, very beautiful, very voluptuous as well. So like do guys get intimidated by you?
Oh yeah. And a lot of times they don't show it. First off, yeah, they get intimidated. So it weeds out a lot of the weak ones. And then I get the ones who kind of hang in there for like 8 to 10 months. Like, okay, I'm going to see if I can ride this ride. I might be tall enough. And then after 8 to 10 months, you get I'm really scared. I don't know what to do. I feel like I don't know what to do with my feelings. I feel like I'm going to give up part of who I am. Uh, you're a good person. It's not me. It's not you. It's me. And I get those people too. So,
Really?
and then I'm just like, okay, I'm not going to beg for you to hang around. And
No,
then
of
of course,
course.
like a couple of months later, they come back around. They're like, I think I screwed up. And I'm like, well, all right, whatever. That's your problem. Not doing that one again.
Oh, so you won't give people a second chance. Let's like
No.
see you later. It's done.
Yeah, no. I did that one time, and it ended up being in this endless, terrible cycle of. And that's when I learned about attachment styles.
Mm,
The anxious, fearful, avoidant attachment. And then
yeah.
I was like, I'm a secure attachment, so I tend to attract these low self-esteem, and you don't want to date. You can try and avoid dating in the entertainment business too, because that's you try to avoid. It's nice to have
100%.
somebody you can relate to who understands what you do, but then there's all that downfall of, okay, you're as messed up as I am, so
Mm.
or
Oh,
you're
100%.
as messed up as I used to be, so I relate to that, but still. So yeah.
Well, I think that's the entertainment industry as well. It's like everyone has to be a little bit quirky to really
Crazy.
be an
Yeah,
entertainer. Yeah, to have
we
that
we
level
all
of
do. Yeah.
craziness into them, you know. But it's interesting, man. Like I had a relationship, but actually my last relationship before my wife, which was years before I met my wife, and this girl and I this woman and I dated, and she had this like weird thing, whereas like she liked I mean, like I'm a nice guy, so I'm not going to be a prick to someone for no reason. So I'd be
Mhm.
like, all right, cool, whatever. And then she would go, oh, I'm not feeling it. I want to call it off. I'm like, all right, cool, see you later. I wouldn't text her. She'd text me. I'd ignore it. And then like a day later, oh, I miss you. I want to be with you. I'd be like, all right, cool.
The
After the
games.
third, after the third time, I just turn around and said to her, I go, listen, I'll take you back this next time. But if you pull this shit again, like, like that's it. We're done. Like you're cut off. There's
Yeah.
nothing. And she's like, okay, blah, blah, blah. And again, like within 3 weeks, same shit. And I just went,
Yeah.
see you later, leave, we're done.
Yeah.
This chick went crazy for about 6 months trying to make me jealous and stuff,
Yeah.
like sending me photos with her dating some new guy. And I'm just
Yeah.
like, hey, great for you. You guys look happy. I'm
Yeah.
best of luck. You know what I mean? Like, what do you want me to say?
Yeah, there's a lot of people out there who don't understand their attachment style, and then they don't do anything to resolve it and become secure. They
Mm,
don't try and heal themselves. They just try and blame other people for their issues. And a lot of, there's a lot of people who get into this cycle of, an anxious attachment with a fearful avoidant. So it's like this push pull of drama, like, you know,
Mm.
come to me, get away from me, come to me, get away from me, come to me, get away from me. And, you're going to see about, I want to say, 30 to 50% of relationships are that style. And it's really toxic. But, um, some get resolved, some don't.
It is. But
And they
I
blame the
feel
other
like
person, and it's not. It's themselves.
but you know what? It's funny. My wife, love her to death. She is the love of my life. But I've told her there is not a person in the world that can get me more pissed off by just saying absolutely fucking nothing, just by rolling her eyes and just making my skin ball. And but in the same sense, wouldn't have it any other way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's
Well, you're
crazy.
not
Like,
supposed to roll your eyes. That's contempt.
yeah, but it is, but you know
It
what I mean. That's what I'm saying. It's like it makes my blood boil. You know what I mean. But also like the love and stuff that I have for her is crazy because it's like when it comes down to it. When I met her, I had no idea the relationships were supposed to be so fucking easy. You know what I mean? That is like the
Yeah,
the real eye opening thing where it's like, oh shit, like okay,
yeah,
like this is cool and yeah, no, you know what I mean? Like there's never
yeah.
it's not everything is an issue.
No, they always tell you relationships are hard, and that's a load of shit. Relationships are supposed to be easy. They're supposed to just, flow.
Mm.
So, I mean, you gotta obviously, compromise on things, but they're supposed to be easy.
Oh, you're supposed to complement each other's lives, I believe.
Got either one.
Sorry, what was that? You cut out.
So, sorry if I'm having an
Oh,
internet issue there.
no, that's all right. You cut out there. Sorry, I missed what you said.
No, yeah, my internet's wonky here. I said relationships are just supposed to flow. They're supposed to be easy. If you're struggling a lot consistently, uh, might not be a good situation.
Oh, 100%. So, you're getting propositioned for toilet paper on a Tinder date.
Yeah.
That is by far one of the funniest things I've ever heard, though. That's crazy.
Oh, I've got so many dating stories. There was one time that I just started writing them. It ended at like the Match.com blog that turned into a 3-part series.
Yeah.
So it's just sometimes I'll just use this stuff for writing fodder. But yeah, it's like when I was dating steadily, there would be a criteria. I started learning certain things like
Yeah.
um, how do you communicate? Can you differentiate between your and your, then
Yeah.
and then? Do you use
Yeah.
punctuation? Because honestly, how you do one thing is how you do everything. So if
Mm.
you take pride in your language and you have valued how your because words matter, honestly. How you speak matters, how you communicate matters. So if you just rattle off a sentence in all lowercase with no punctuation, you're going to do everything that way. You're going to be sloppy about your house. You're going to be sloppy about your dishes. You're going to be sloppy about how you cook. You're just going to be sloppy.
Mm.
So I don't know. And I found that
Setting
to
a
be true.
standard for yourself.
Yeah. You're not going to, if you don't take pride in things, in one thing, you're probably not taking pride or caring or getting educated in everything. So I've learned to differentiate with a lot of things. So, how do you talk about your mom? Are all your exes crazy? That is a flaming red flag. If all your exes are
Mm.
crazy, that's you. So you have done something to create your actions have created that reaction. So that's a big nope, sorry, nice to meet you. And do you get along with your exes? So if you get along with your exes to a civil manner, okay, cool. So those are some major weeding out points. So
But
it takes a strong person.
getting along with your exes, like I even feel like unless you have kids with someone, like once someone's an ex, there's no reason to have them in your life. Like that's my personal like belief. You know what I mean? I'm sure you may sort of have a different view on that, but that's just the way I see it.
Yes. But if they are in a situation where you have to work with them, or they are your neighbor, or you go to school with them or whatever, can you be civil?
Oh, of course, yeah.
You know,
That's
Did you have a horrible breakup where you were stupid and wrote all about them on social media and trashed them? Or was it a quiet, decent, you respected them as a human being, you know?
Yeah. And I think
So,
that there's different ways to do that, and I think that that's
yeah,
emotional intelligence and emotional maturity as well when it comes down to handle things like that, you know.
yeah.
Because I think like breakups are hard. I feel like no matter how long, whether it's a 6 month, 10 month, you know, year, 2 years, whatever, you know, that's a chapter of your life with someone. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't all bad in every single person's
No.
relationship, and you know that's where you have to look at it and go, there was good times. However, you know, good people don't necessarily make good relationships.
Yeah, and I really feel like we attract people into our lives at a certain point for a reason. So they come in and there's something that we really need to learn at that point. And relationships are the quickest and most intense way for us to learn about ourselves. So
Mm,
it's a mirror to who we are. So these relationships are direct reflection.
mm.
So no relationship is wasted time. They're all valuable.
Oh, 100%. Like there's always going to be times that you regret in life, but it's like and as well, but I feel like it's just still just experiences. You know what I
Mhm,
mean? Like, you know, I feel like you have to go through heartache, you have to go through struggle
mhm,
to really appreciate, you know, your wins. And you know it's, you know, you have to sort of go through that. You have to go through that heartbreak. And you know, me and my wife were talking about that. She's like, oh, how do you think, you know, our kids are going to be when they get to that age and stuff like that? And I just said it's part of life. They're gonna fall in love. They're gonna want to date the wrong people that we don't agree with and stuff like that. And it's just
don't say anything.
hey, you know
No,
what,
don't
love,
say anything. You gotta if you get a teenager and you can't stand the boyfriend or the girlfriend, don't say anything because it just prolongs that relationship.
I've still got a few more years to go before that
Yeah,
stage. So I'm really
yeah,
I'm treasuring the moments of them being little.
yeah.
But yeah, I've already told my daughter she's not allowed to date till she's at least 45. So
That's fair.
I think that's fair enough. Like, yeah, she's
That's
got
fair.
only 40 something years to go. So she'll be sweet.
Yeah, she'll be all right.
Yeah, she's got
So
two
it's
brothers. So
overrated anyway, you know.
yeah, exactly.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
No, you know, got to protect her. So it's crazy because my wife actually, like, she points out, she goes, "You treat the kids different," and I'm like, "What do you mean?" She's like, "No, you." She's like, you know, she's like, "This." My son will come and say, "Hey, can I have a chocolate?" And you'll be like, "Oh no, I think you've had enough." And then my daughter will come up and go, "Daddy, can I have some more chocolate?" And you're like, "Yeah, of course, yes." Like, pile up, darling. And I'm like, I don't see that I do that, but my wife's like, "No, you do every single time." I'm like,
What's
"Damn."
this? Yeah, what's the saying? If you have a son, you have a son till he's got a wife. If you have a
Mm,
daughter, you have a daughter for life.
yeah.
So-
Well, I don't know about that, but it's just I don't know. Dads and daughters, I feel like that's just the
Oh,
connection. So
100%. I was
you know, it
100%.
it's
And
crazy.
there's another one too. It's mothers raise their daughters but love their sons.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
But you know, it's funny to see though, like when they learn shit and then like they learn how to sort of like get around stuff. Like my daughter's like a very very intelligent like young lady, and like mate, she knows how to play me, her grandparents, every single person. She just turns it on and just bats the eyes, and
Mhm.
whatever she wants, she gets.
It's a valuable life skill.
Yeah, I'm just, you know, hopefully it doesn't go down the other route, the other route of something, you know, crazy. So, you know,
She could be an MP
mm,
or sorry, an PM. Well, it depends on
prime
what
minister.
country. Yeah, it
I
depends
mean,
on
oh, oh,
then, you
we
know.
got, yeah, yeah. Well, she actually told me she wanted to be an MMA fighter turned professional wrestler at some stage. So I'm like, yeah, I'm not too mad about that. So I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, I can do that. So yeah, I'll endorse that. So she's happy to do it. So we'll get her started in a few years. So,
Oh, see,
but
I would never let my kid be a professional wrestler.
it, Yeah, neither would I. Like, yeah, yeah, no, yeah. Like she wants to come to shows that I'm on, and I'm just like, sure, and I say yes, and then it's like, then I have this moment of clarity before I go, going, does she really need to be around certain like people like this? And I'm like, yeah, no, like, yeah, I'm gonna keep her away from this carny mafia world.
I mean, until she gets to a certain age and just be like, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, hopefully by that stage I'll be well and good, truly gone out of it. So she hopefully I can hide it from her for as long as I can.
Yeah.
You know. But it's crazy. Are you still doing any wrestling stuff at the moment, or are you just doing more like conventions and signings?
I'm doing mostly conventions and signings, but every once in a while I'll go in and do a rash of tapings for somebody for pay-per-view downloads. So I have one at the end of September for a company I've worked for years, but they are closing. And the name I'm blanking on right now because I haven't had all my coffee. They're out of Memphis. Damn it. I want to say something Ladies of Wrestling. Crappity.
Gorgeous ladies at Glow?
No,
No?
no. But it's mostly a women's fed, but they bring in guys every so often too.
Okay, cool.
I think, is it Liberty Pro Wrestling? Liberty Pro Wrestling in Memphis. I think that's it.
Yeah, right. So they just like do a bunch of tapings every couple of
Yeah,
months or so.
I want to say it's every 1 or 2 a month. So the owner and his wife just kind of, they've gotten to the point now where they have grandchildren. They want to spend time with their grandchildren. They're getting older. They're tired of the bullshit. The costs of travel have gotten astronomical and flying everybody in. So they're just like, we think they're, starting to have some health problems. So they're just like, I think we're done now. So our last taping is going to be in September. So I'm on that final taping. So you can order a custom match. So if anybody wants to do that, you can order that. And I don't know when I'm booked to do another one because they're kind of the only ones I'm working for. But yeah, I still work for them.
What do you mean like a custom match? Like they can say like, I want you to do a ladder match, or like,
well, not that extreme, but yeah, basically they submit the script. So they look at who's on. Usually there's like 15, 20 girls working that day. And last time I went, I think I had 12 matches in the day. We started at
Jesus.
6:30 in the morning and got out at 11 o'clock at night. It was crazy. It's a brutally hard day, but it's
Yeah,
one
that's
of the
rough.
better ways to make some money. So you go and you'll say, okay, I see you're there and this girl's there. I want to order a 10-minute match of, pure grappling where, you're doing some sleeper holds and, April gets knocked out by a such and such in a grapevine pin. So, and I prefer you guys to wear the blue outfit and the red thing. So you can request.
Damn. So they like go into full detail.
Yeah, they can request. They can request the outfits if we have them, and they can try and request the moves. As much as we can do. So I'm not doing power moves anymore. I'm old and beat up. So, but I can still
Nice.
pull. Yeah, I can still pull some stuff out of my butt.
Is that one of the moves that people don't know? Never mind.
Absolutely. So you'd be surprised
Wow.
what they agree. You would be surprised. No, but I've had some injuries, so I usually just stay away from the big bumps now.
Oh,
So it's
100%.
just not worth it, and you're not getting paid enough for it. So
100%. Like, I feel like that's a thing where, I think more wrestlers these days are being a lot more smarter about what they're doing with their bodies and on certain shows as well. Like, not everything has to be 100 mile a minute. Everything doesn't have to be high spot after high spot after high spot. And I think that's the protection, and you're seeing in longevity of
yeah.
performance as well.
Well, it's smart for them. It's smart. I mean, if the company is smart, they're going to preach that. I remember somebody at NWA saying the same thing. They're saying you're going out there and you're doing all these flips and you're going, zzz, but the fan's going to forget about that shortly after the show because they don't remember your character. You didn't build up your character. You didn't use psychology in the match. You didn't keep them hooked all the way to the end with the
Mm,
finish. And um, that matters. You didn't see some of these old time greats that people absolutely loved, or even these new greats doing all that stuff. And if you're a student of wrestling, you should pay attention to this, because as much as those super athletic flippy matches are, and I enjoy them as much as the next person, a lot of
mm,
times those people get retired out very young,
yeah,
in their 20s and 30s, and they get messed up. I mean,
mm.
really messed up, brain injuries, neck injuries, permanent injuries. So a lot of them are gone and done by the time they're 40.
Yeah.
So,
And also
or
you
earlier.
and drug and alcohol abuse as well that you put into, because then they've got to cope with the pain and whatever other addiction issues that
Yeah.
come up. That Jeff Hardy, prime example. You know what I mean? A guy that got over by jumping off of shit and hurting himself.
Yeah. And I mean, even going to Hayabusa.
Mm,
So if you take a little bit more care of yourself and develop your character, and you can look at your career with some more longevity, and the company can invest in you and see, okay, this person obviously values who they are. They're not going to use you as a, because I mean, they're just using you, right? They're using
mm,
you like a racehorse. They're going to run you to the ground. And when you get hurt, quite honestly, you're going to shoot you.
mm,
They're going to shoot you and put the next racehorse in. That's just the way it is, quite honestly. It's not a team sport. So
no.
if you can't perform, you're done. Next person's in. That's it. That's why you get what, a 3-year contract. That's it. So if you look like the kind of person who is more cautious, they're going to invest more in you. This is marketing 101. I'm amazed people
Yeah,
can't see this shit. And they're also going to get behind you to do more media, more publicity, more film, more, videos, more gaming. And these are the things that explode your brand. So
absolutely.
just being somebody who is only in wrestling, that's great, but you're only a wrestler, and there's this many people that watch wrestling.
Mm.
That's it. So
It's a
if
niche.
you're, yeah, it's a niche market. Well, and it just is. So if you're just a wrestler, okay, cool. 10-15% of the people watch wrestling these days. It's not
Mm,
like Hulk Hogan era.
no.
So, but if you're a wrestler who has extended themselves over to gaming, over to Twitch, you have a podcast, you're in movies, you're doing TV appearances or getting on talk shows. If you're out there and being featured in major stories on like online magazines and things like that, if you're extending, if you're an author, if you're doing a dance competition, you know,
Mm. You're
then you,
expanding on your
yeah,
brand. You're
yeah.
doing
If you're
something different.
if you're if you're doing a cooking show, or whatever your thing is, if you're doing a house building show, you are now a much bigger name. So, if you're doing your own fitness, thing, you, so this is common sense, but a lot of, I really think they need to get in there with a PR or marketing person and take some of these people aside and do that. Um, you know,
I think what they should probably look
that's
at
what I
doing.
should be doing, but hey.
I think what WWE could be doing is like when they're signing these young athletes out of college or whatever it may be. I think that they should be looking to set them up. And in Japan, they do this with rugby players. So anywhere else in the world, like rugby union, rugby league, will have clubs. You know what I
Mhm,
mean? Like the Brisbane Broncos, the Queensland Reds, the AFL teams, and the Sydney Swans, all these other stuff, right? But
mhm,
in Japan, they don't do that. They have companies that have rugby teams and stuff. So they'll have like Mitsubishi Magpies or whatever it may be, right?
mhm,
But part of the people's job is, or the players, their contracts would be right. So from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m., you have an office job or whatever it may be that you work in marketing. From 12 p.m. to 6 p.m., you then have a job as a professional rugby player where you go and train. And then after your career is finished, you then have a job for life at that company in whichever area of expertise that they develop you in or
Yeah.
you grow in. So I think WWE should probably be looking at doing stuff like that, not necessarily giving people jobs for life, but like insisting then going, okay, we're going to sign you to 3 years. Within that 3 years, you have to do a degree of some sort or a, whatever it may be, a trade of something.
They can't, because you got to remember the realistic aspect of it.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
there's no off season in wrestling. They're on the road 300 days a year. They are freaking exhausted, and they're drug tested now, so they can't use the medications, the anabolics or whatever that they used to be able to use to help them recover quickly, or they can't use the amount that they used to use to help them recover quickly. That was the point of using that stuff, not just to look like a wrestler, but also, steroids were created and growth hormone were created to make people into superhumans. So, people weren't dying from steroids. They never were. It was, the overwhelming majority of the steroids were created to help you heal and recover, as long as you use them and don't abuse them. So it was the other things that were killing people. And then, like I said, the medical and media is what gave that impression that it was causing problems. But if you look at all the action heroes and the Mr. Olympias and Miss Olympia, if you look at all the people, the bodybuilders, they're still alive for the most part, but it's the rock stars who are dead. So unfortunately, the wrestlers take on both the bodybuilder and the rock star persona, and they're using both drugs. So it's the legal drugs that were killing them, not the illegal ones. But of course, they ruled all that out. So when you're on the road 300 days a year with no off season, it's really difficult to say, hey, we need you to take another job too and do all these appearances. So that's challenging. But
not necessarily doing a job, but at least I think the criteria should be okay to get signed by WWE. You have to have some form of education or life skill behind. You know what I mean? Because I feel like with what happens,
they'd have to bring somebody to they bring them in at 1:00 in the afternoon, and then they film later. They should have somebody on the road with them, or people on the road with them. They have the money to do it, to tutor.
Yeah.
Tutor.
100%.
And they should also have somebody there to help say, like NFL does. NFL has a consult, so that these young athletes, a lot of them coming out of, urban neighborhoods where they've never dealt with money before.
Yeah.
Say, okay, financial advisor, this is what's going to happen. You are not going to give all your money away to your friends and family. You are going to invest in this. And we got hedge funds. We've got high yield CDs. You're going to put some in gold. Let's look at some of these, stocks over here that are safe. We're going to invest this money because you're only going to do this for so long before you might possibly get hurt. But let's make it work for you instead of you going like this, make it rain. So they should be doing that with WWE too. But as far as I know, they're not.
No. Well, but you know what? It's even interesting. Like I saw recently a soccer player, I can't remember his name, but he's worth like hundreds of millions of dollars. He went through like this divorce and the wife tried to, like, he had no prenup and a wife was looking to get everything. However, what he did, his contract that got paid, the money he gave straight into his mother's bank account. Every property that he owned, his mother's name is on, his name is on anything. So his ex-wife got absolutely zilch from out of the relationship. I think they were married for like a year or 2 years. So like, you know what I mean? Like that's still pretty crazy on the next level of trying to protect your investment. But you know what I mean? Like I think that's just, that's good mothering. Going back to what you said, they love their sons.
Yes. And that's great. That's great if you get along with your mom. But okay, so here's something. What if your mom dies and you're a professional athlete worth millions of dollars and you have greedy brothers and sisters who you don't get along with?
Oh.
or a
that
father,
gets
or
messy.
a father who's they're still married, but yeah, so that's not necessarily the way. Get a freaking prenup. That goes for women
Mm.
too. Or a partnership agreement if you're living with somebody. You have to. If
Oh,
it's not in
100,
writing, it doesn't matter.
100%.
No, you have
You
to.
are, yeah, you
That's
are
the world we
100%.
live in. And if somebody loves you, they will sign it.
Mm.
So,
I mean, look, like me and my wife were never in that situation, but like, even in the same sense, if we were to separate, like, I get it. Like, I'm more the higher breadwinner of the relationship. So to me, it's like I would pay money to make sure my kids are taken care of. You know what I
right.
mean? But in the same sense, I don't plan on leaving my wife anytime soon. I'm pretty sure she's happy, so I don't need to worry about it. But even in the same sense, it comes down to it's like, you pay to take care of your kids. You just make sure that
Right.
your kids are well taken care of,
Yeah.
regardless of the situation.
Yeah. Yeah. My dad ended up leaving and he took good care of us and made sure we were okay. There's a
Mm.
lot of really, really good fathers out there, a lot of very decent men that get a bad rap. Because we only, you only hear about the bad, the bad guys or the bad women who are taking everybody for all they're worth. There's a lot of good women out there too. So
Of course.
unfortunately,
Well, it's
um,
not, it's like
it's a
people when
good
they
it's
try.
a good headline to talk about the bad ones.
But you know what? It comes down when people sort of turn around and they blame a certain race or they say a certain race is like that. Well, it's like, no, that's not necessarily true. There are some incredible American people that I know, and there's some absolutely scummy American people that I know. And that's the same with Australians. It's the same with Canadians. It's the same, you know what I mean? From
Yeah,
all different people that I know
yeah,
from around the world. It's the same with genders. It's like there's some
yeah,
incredible women that I know, and there's been some not so incredible women.
yeah.
Same with dudes.
Being a piece of shit knows no race, no nationality, and no gender. It's an equal opportunity situation.
Oh, yes. Yeah, 100%. Complete cuntiness behavior from
Yeah,
certain people.
being a right cunt.
Being a right cunt. You know what? I love hearing an American say that because it pops me so huge because it's like in Australia, no one takes offense to that. Well, not many people take offense to it, but it's like, I
Oh,
remember the first time I said it in front of Ben and Big Ray, and they were just like, whoa,
no.
what the fuck?
I remember the first time I said it in front of Ray. He was just like, because I was in England for such a long time. It's just it's a term of endearment there, you know, you know.
Well,
Oh, don't worry about him. He's a good cunt, So it's or
well,
so it's I didn't think you could just get used to it, and people here just get so offended, uh, which makes it even more appealing to me.
mm. Well, in Australia, we are so ass backwards that we call our mates cunt and our enemies mate.
Yeah,
Does that make sense? Like you'd see
yeah,
your friend, go, hey, what's up, you bloody sick cunt?
yeah,
Whatever. And then like you'd see like someone you're gonna have a fight with, go, hey, you wanna have a fight, mate? Like, come on, mate, let's makes no sense.
yeah. I do it too. We're not allowed to say a lot of things. It used to be that way, but now all of a sudden we're censored and every word is bad here. It's unbelievable. But you call your friends bitches, like, what's up, bitches? And then it's hey, what's hey, darling, you you want to go, darling? Like, really? All right, baby cakes, bring it. So yeah, same thing. But it's funny when you get in trouble online because AI cannot understand context. So now that they're
Mm,
using AI to rape and pillage the language, it's amazing that you can use literally any slur or any word in a context that is positive or negative, and they want to deem things as hate speech. There's no such thing. There's no fucking such thing as hate speech. It does not exist. There's just speech. Words are neutral. It's the user who can be hateful. So
mm,
you can use any word in a connotation that is either hateful or not hateful. So
I
to
agree.
deem something hate speech, who who determines that? Who makes the rules for that? So now they want to police your speech, and you could get in trouble for saying, I fucking love it. or what's up? How you doing, bitches? You know what I mean? So they start pulling things down. I remember somebody asked me a question on Facebook that was inappropriate, but I thought I would answer in the classic Sherlock Holmes line. I could tell you, but then I would have to kill you. I got a 30-day ban.
What?
I got for inciting violence and hate speech because they just didn't didn't read the whole thing. So it was like, you guys you're just assholes. You're assholes. So, my generation uses swears for everything. We use them as subject, predicate, adverb, adjective. So, fuck is used for everything. I love swears. They are the salt and pepper of the English language. And I'm always, my guest is flabbered at the amount of people now that get so offended at a swear word. It's like, I'm not slapping your baby. There's so much out there that you can spend your time being offended over. Okay. The real swear words are diabetes and, divorce and Parkinson's and obesity, which you're trying to make beautiful. And, no, you don't get upset because I use the word fuck. Go fuck off. So, just my theory. So.
Hey, no, like I'm with you. You know what I mean? Like as a parent, I had to sit there and talk to my kids, and I told my son when he started going to primary, like going to school, I was like, listen, you're going to learn, he started using swear words. I said, listen, you can say whatever you want to me. Just do not say these words in front of your mother, any other adult, teachers, your friends, your sister, your brother, any of that. But you can come and say anything in the world to me that you want to say, any word that you want to say, you can say it and you have a pass with me, but it's only when it's you and me around. There can be no one else. And he looked at me and he went, really, Dad? And I went, yeah, son. And he went, fuck.
Just
I'm like, why'd you
put a toe in the water?
Yeah, and he's like, okay. And then he stopped for a second and he went, fuck, bitch, shit. It just went on this like minute tirade of every word he knew just over on repeat. And then he stopped and then he had a little giggle to himself. And then he was like, all right.
You start breaking out other languages there too.
But now it's like, it's not a big deal for, you know what I mean? Like he has those little moments where he just wants to laugh at saying naughty words. And it's just like, yeah, cool. Be a boy and say stupid shit in front of me, but don't do it in front of other people. You know what I mean? That's the only thing. So it's like, he gets to do it. He gets no repercussions or, discipline for doing it, but he doesn't do it. He does it in a respectful way where the rules have been outlined. So I did it the same for my daughter and she's just like, fuck that. She's just wrong. She told her own teacher, the teacher's like, she's like, okay, Amity, you've got to come inside from lunch. And she just looked and she goes, don't be a fucking mark.
She learned quickly.
No, my wife rang me. She goes, you have to pick up your daughter from school today. And I'm like, okay, told me what happened. I'm just like, fuck. I was like, what?
It's like a Christmas story when the kid comes, gets in trouble and the mother calls the other mother and she's like, do you know what he said today in school? And you hear the blah, 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 blah. Do you know where he heard that from? He heard it from the father. And it's what? And she goes and starts beating the kid.
Oh my God. I've seen that. That's crazy. But yeah, it's it's just kids and their words. But I feel like people now, like especially nowadays, they get offended by absolutely everything. Like there's so many social justice warriors out there that see the smallest minute detail, and it's like almost like people go looking to be offended by certain things.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't care. That's their problem. If you're that weak, honestly, if you are easily offended, it shows a very low self-esteem. So that is something you should work on because you're going to spend your life having cortisol issues and emotional problems because you're going to sit around being offended, and that's going to affect your health. So if that is acceptable to you,
best of luck.
That's fine, but that's not my problem. It is not my problem to tiptoe around your emotional problems and things you won't work on. So that is your problem, and I am not taking that shit personally. So nor am I curbing the way I speak, and I'm pushing back on all that crap. So
I think
not having it.
when people reach a certain age, they go through that. Like I changed that. I sort of flipped a switch about a year or two ago. I think it was around the time I turned 40, where I've just gone, you know what, like, like this is me. Like, take it or leave it. Like, I'm not gonna try and offend people, but in the same sense, like,
Same.
if I think something's stupid or retarded, I'm gonna use the word retarded, and I'm not making fun of people with a mental disability. It's just a word that it means nothing. I'm not saying it's anything to do with someone who has Down syndrome or a mental, issue or anything like that. I'm just saying it as a word. It doesn't have that meaning or connotation when I'm using it.
No one is using the word retarded. It's up for grabs.
Really?
No one's using it. First off, the
I
root word of retarded is Latin. It means to retard, which they still use in France, means slow, delayed. It means delayed.
Mm.
So we no longer use the word retarded to refer to special needs. So why can't we put that back in our language to mean slow? So if you are if this is a dumb situation, an idiotic situation where the situation is slow to grasp what's going on, use retarded. Why not? So government retarded,
Yeah.
fully retarded, fucktarded actually. So, I don't see a problem with that. I mean, I think kindness really matters, and
Sure.
not going out of your way to um offend people deliberately is also really a thing. But I don't think we should hold back on what we mean. Like, say what you mean what you say. And I don't
Mm.
think we should curb words specifically to make others feel better. I think it's
I
their
also
job. It's their job to handle their feelings.
I think people need to stand by their word as well in convictions, because so many times people will say stuff
Oh
and
yeah,
then
and
they're
then
like,
back it off. Yeah.
yeah, like, and that's the thing where I've always said is like, hey, I'll say what's on my mind. I'll say what my opinion is if I'm asked on certain things, and if you don't like it, hey, hit me up. I'm not hard to find. You know what I mean? Like, that's
Same.
my mentality. It's like, I don't run and hide. If someone DMs me and says, hey, I don't agree with what you said, and I've had it happen before,
Mm-hmm.
where I shit on deathmatch wrestling, and this deathmatch wrestler hit me up, and he was like, straight up, he was a man about it, and I was just like, damn, I got, you know what I mean? Like, that's respect.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like, there's a lot of other people that would just go and cry and try and cancel and go down that rabbit hole of cesspool of social media, social justice bullshit.
Yeah, I'm with you. On the flip side of that, I think if you're wrong, you should be okay to admit you're wrong. Like, hey, I
For
got that
real.
wrong. So, every once in a while, like I do a lot of predictions far out, and anyone who's followed me for a long time knows that I have about a 98%, maybe it's higher, prediction rate, because I have this really weird ability to see patterns. And I'm able to say, okay, this is what's happening right now, whether you see it or not, and this is where it's going. And I know you don't want to hear it, but this is where we're headed. And people are like, fuck you, you're a conspiracy theorist, you're crazy, you're this, you're that. And I'm like, no, not really. I'm just more, I just have the ability to see something you don't. And I have the unfortunate ability to accept the truth where you don't want to hear it. You want validation instead of information. So you can take that information and run with it and be empowered by it, or you can sit in your house and cry like a little bitch and have your feelings hurt and talk shit about me, which I don't really care. And then when the time comes, you can deal with it then when it's too late. So,
Do
or
you have
you can, or you can merge with the rest of us and stand up to stop this from happening. So, meanwhile, we're going to try and push back. So you are welcome to join us, or you can be a little bitch. We don't really care. So, but every once in a while, I will get it wrong. And I will say, hey, you know what? I said this, and I've realized that I got it wrong, and I apologize for getting it wrong. So in the future, I will research the topics more deeply and spend more time. So I think that's important to do that, because if you don't, you lose your credibility. And
Yeah.
I think we have to step up and say we're wrong in relationships too, instead of backing, double down or trying to, push and escalate things. If you're wrong, say you're wrong. If you're, saying I'm sorry if you've hurt somebody, and you're not entirely sure, um, doesn't make you less of a person. It's actually quite admirable. So
Admitting when you're in the wrong, admitting when you have fault is one
yeah,
of the hardest things to do as well. And it's
it
like
is.
there's so many times where it's that there's fights that happen, and advice I was given to on my wedding day, by my dad. He just said, "Never go to bed angry," and he
Yeah,
goes, "Never be afraid to say I'm sorry. It's my fault." And he goes, because this he goes, the small little arguments that can lead to bigger shit down the line. He goes, they mean nothing. He
yeah,
said, so just don't
it's
hold
true.
on to petty shit. So
Yeah, 100%. I've been in arguments with people where I know that I'm correct, and I've been told, "Do you want to be right or do you want to be happy?" So I'll say
mm,
that, they'll keep on and keep on and keep on, and I'll just listen. I'll listen, and I'll say, "Okay, I can see, I hear you. I'm hearing what you're saying, and I can understand how you feel that way.
mm,
So I'm listening to you." So, that's sometimes that's the best you can do. If
yeah. Well, the thing is, as well, it's like you don't have to die on every hill.
no, you
You know what
don't.
I mean? Like
Yeah.
you don't. That's like I've looked at some things, and I had this like Twitter beef back and forth with this person the other day, and it was like she was saying there's men bully women in Australian wrestling, and it's been happening since everything, and blah 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 blah. And I simply responded and just said, there's more. It's also women bullying other people in wrestling. It's not all just men here. And I said, and you're a veteran here, so looking at how if young women were looking to get into the business and they research you and see that, women get bullied, women are mistreated in wrestling, it's going to turn off a generation of professional wrestlers. You are running and operating a professional wrestling school. So you, in the longevity, are also fucking your business instead of trying to make it better and fucking squashing down that shit and making it change. You want to go and bitch and cry about, unfairness and stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was back and forth. And it was, from mine, it wasn't as direct as that. And then it turned into something crazy. And then it was like, after the second message, I was just like, the first message I sent, I was just like, saw the response. I was like, no, you're an idiot. This is pointless. This is like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
this is,
Sometimes you just gotta ignore. Sometimes no response is the perfect response.
yeah. Her response was something like, what about men? And I'm like, oh, oh yeah,
Yeah.
no. Like I said, no, I just went, no, I don't have the mental capacity all the time to deal with you. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I just went, I'm
Yeah.
done. I'm out. I'm out. Not
Yeah.
prepared to go any further.
The girls today, they don't know what the women went through when we got into it.
Mm,
They are extremely fortunate, and they have it much, 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 much easier.
mm,
So if they feel they're being bullied, they have a lot more avenues, they have a lot more privileges, and they probably should keep their mouths shut as far as complaining, because they actually have repercussions that they can, um, they have options. Whereas the girls, when, back in the 2000s, when I got into it,
mm,
you did not. So it's come a long way. The men are a lot more respectful now.
mm,
Um, they will look after you now, and it's changed quite a bit. So from what I see, the guys and now, the men now, and I quite honestly, I have a lot of fondness for the men from the brothers from when I got in.
yeah, absolutely.
There's a lot of good guys that I came up with and trained with and worked with that I have deep respect and fondness for. That I would go out of my way to help, suggest, recommend, and
Mm,
if I, Um, but the guys now are, most of them are so well, um, what's the word I'm looking for? I just want to say so respectful and well behaved and decent when it comes to women, and very helpful too in bringing them up.
Yeah.
So, you know, I don't see what I saw before.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. I
So
mean,
I
like,
would challenge that.
well, you know what? But even like during your time, well, that's where I was challenging that, saying, like, but I
Yeah.
was challenging it more on the saying, like, come on, let's be honest with each other. There's more bullying done by women to other women than you know what I mean, men bullying women. You know what I mean? Like, I'm on quite a few shows, and I've been around a fair bit, and I've seen a lot of how our industry operates, and I'm sure it's very similar to how it is over there and has been everywhere. It's it is what it is. And when you came in your generation, and you told me last time, it's to get offered a WWE contract, they wanted to dictate, like, your
Dating life.
marital status, or
Yeah.
dating. I was trying to find
Yeah.
the eloquent words to put it there, but yeah, like
Yeah.
that. You know what I mean? And like for
You had
you
to
to
be
be
single.
like,
They wanted you to break up with who you were, so you could be hired and be single. So yeah, it's a lot different. And if something happened backstage or on tour, no one was backing you up. They would get rid of you.
mm,
So you were the problem. So
mm,
you had to take it. So I don't think, a lot of the girls, they don't know what that's like. And I think you could talk to the women that I got in with, and any one of them who can speak freely would verify what I'm saying.
yeah.
So
I remember, like, I spoke with this a lady who was an independent wrestler in the early 2000s. Um, and she told me that when she was in, they would say, "Oh, we need you to be a blonde," and she was a brunette, and she's like, "In order to get booked more, I had to go and become a blonde."
yeah,
But I didn't really want to. But if I wanted to wrestle, that's
yeah.
just what I had to
They
do.
would tell you
And
you have
it's
to be blonde. You got to lose weight. They told me I needed to lose 20 pounds. I was lean.
mm,
So I remember doing a HW Heartland camp and Heartland Wrestling. I went in for the 1 week camp, and Patterson told me you need to lose 20 pounds. I was like, from how? From where? So
but your physique has always been very, like, strong, muscular, very, like, powerful looking. That if you lost 20 pounds, it's
they
like,
didn't like that look back then.
yeah, but I feel like that's what would have kept you different from what they had back then as well. But also, I feel like if you'd
They didn't
lost
value
20 pounds,
they
like,
didn't value that back then.
yeah,
So
I know,
now I
but like,
see girls who are all kinds of weights, like heavy
um,
chicks and chubby chicks and all types of girls that are celebrated and hired. And I'm like, it's never been a better time to be, a female in front of a camera, because you can be any weight you want and no one can say anything. You can age gracefully or disgracefully and no one can say anything.
yeah, I mean, well, that's the
we,
power of what it is. That's probably
yeah, we
the
we were
positive side of
torn
shit. Yeah.
apart. We were torn. You could be perfect. I was a Playboy model. You could be freaking perfect
Mm.
with, lean, all abs, beautiful. They would find something wrong with you and shred you online. So, and if the fans didn't personally want to fuck you, they would trash you. So if they didn't find you personally attractive, if you were muscular, you used to be a man. If you were too skinny, you were too, they just found whatever they were just, the mental dwarfism that was happening in wrestling, because wrestling fans often are the lowest and common denominator of fans, quite honestly. You have some really great ones, but they're even lower than porn fans, quite honestly. Ask
Yeah.
they're terrible. So they will shred you to bits, and you could be freaking perfect and they would still shred you back then. And God forbid you read your own stuff. It was awful.
That would be like soul crushing for someone who isn't
Yeah, if you don't have a
like, you know what I mean? I
if you
can
don't have a
imagine
thick
someone like
skin.
you just like laughing at
Oh,
half the shit, right? But like someone
I,
who isn't is like thick skinned or like strong willed, that could break people, man. Like,
those
what about
yeah,
that
the
Japanese wrestler,
yeah, the
Hana
young girl.
Kimura? Hannah Kimura,
Yeah.
20 years old, got brutalized on social media to the point she killed herself. That is.
Oh, I was brutalized. I was brutalized. Everything I did, they went after even like people I dated, my family, everything. Brutalized. They were unrelentless with me. It was it was awful. And I have never been so abused, bullied, and everything. And I've been making a living off of my looks since I was 19 and still am. But apparently, I was the most disgusting, ugly thing that used to be a man. I was, or that I was fat. I was masculine. I was this. I was that. I was definitely, this on a scale of this. I was just
Mhm.
all kinds of stuff. So
But these people,
I know I'm not
but these,
everyone's cup of tea, but I also wish people would realize that those who were saying this, I would never fuck you.
that's exactly what I was
I
going to
would,
say.
yeah, I
These
would
people are like,
never, ever in a million years,
mm,
if those of you who have that opinion of me, I would never ever fuck you. I would probably
mm.
like never, even on a deserted island. So I would take a tree stump first. So So, being as though the people with this opinion are
Mm,
not able to make a living off their looks for
mm,
30 something consecutive years,
mm,
you're not in my business. So if you're not doing what I do, your opinion means fuck all because you don't
mm,
understand what it takes. You never had the ability, audacity, or balls to chase your dreams, give up everything that you have to go and do what I do.
mm.
Um, you sit home and either sell out with a whatever job or I don't know what you're in a basement somewhere. I don't know what you do. You play games all day and then have an opinion about female wrestlers. I don't know, but whatever
Yeah.
you're doing, you're not doing what I do. So unless you're on my level and you've done what I do and you have the
Mm.
self discipline that I do and you're able to hold down all the career avenues I do, your opinion doesn't matter. And you also
100%.
need to be doing it better than I do so that I
Mm,
can say, "Oh my god, thank you for that advice. I appreciate the critique. I'll work on that." Because there are
mm.
some people that I'm happy to have that critique and that advice, but, armchair critics, you're not one of
For
them.
real. And you know what? I've always turned around and said, if I want to get advice on how to drive a Ferrari, I'm going to ask someone who's driven a
Driving a
Ferrari, not
Ferrari.
someone who's driven a fucking Toyota Corolla. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And a lot of those people that you were saying, that's what I was just about to say when you dropped it. Whereas, like, these people are these neckbeard fucking, like, obsessed fucking marks that have fucking underwear that
Yeah.
stands up like a surfboard and have no chance in getting a woman in any species, let alone someone at the caliber of yourself or women that have been your colleagues over the years. And these people want to pass judgment and talk shit and pick out imperfections that they think, but in reality, man, like it's you know it, man like if everyone looked the same and every like female performer looked the same, it
Mhm.
would be a very, very bland business for women's wrestling.
It would, and I've always looked different. I've always
Mm.
had a niche audience. I'm not everyone's cup of tea. I'm like a strong Cuban cup of coffee. I get it. So, and that's fine. But being, nasty and, shitty
Hateful. Mm.
because of that, you probably should look in the mirror, strip off all your clothes, jump up and down. I turn on the lights really bright, jump up and down, and if anything jiggles, don't fucking talk about me.
100%.
Fix yourself first, and then we'll talk. But, there's a reason why so many models and wrestlers are in and out of the business within 3 to 5 years.
Mm.
It's really hard. It's hard physically, it's hard mentally. So when someone has been in this business this fucking long, there's a reason for it, and it's not just my looks.
No.
So there's a lot going on. So
Hey, man, look,
there's a
for
lot going on.
for real, and it's like there's moments where I think in wrestling, and it's kind of like the unwritten laws and stuff like that when fans try and come up and give wrestlers advice and stuff like that. And I've seen it happen before, and a lot of the time wrestlers are sitting there and they'll be so respectful. I'm just like waiting for one. I'm like, just someone please punch this fan in the face. Like, please, I really want to see it, because it's like
but on the flip side, though, every once in a while you get a fan who's been watching forever who does have good advice, and they mean it in an earnest way. Like they give you good critique, like, hey, that thing you do, it might be better if you do it this way, or I've seen this thing, maybe you should take it and use it. So I'm not saying discount everything.
No.
I'm just saying there's a way to do it. But yes, I understand exactly where you're coming from. I'm talking to the naysayers out there.
Oh, 100%. Like how do you deal with that on, like, do you get a lot of people like direct messaging you? Like, do you even like check your message request? Like, what is the wildest DMs that like April Hunter gets sent?
Oh, God. Lately, I've been getting some guy that writes all over my social media, "Free Palestine, bitch." I'm like, on all my Instagram posts, and I'm like, sure, I'm gonna go over there and personally do it. I got this.
I'm now gonna go on your Instagram post going, yeah, come on, April, let's get it done.
Yeah, all right, let's go. Yeah, I'm just like, I'm like, I got you covered, babe. Don't worry about it. I'm just like, wow. Yeah, here's what happened. I used to get back to people a lot. Yeah. So I had my website email, I had my regular email, and at the one point we had MySpace, and that was it. So we could keep track of it. And then we had Facebook, and we could keep track of it. Now I've got something like 14, 15 inboxes that if I want to get anything done, I'm a writer, I'm a model, still do wrestling. I run an Airbnb. I do candles and soaps on Etsy. I make them all. I do a bunch of different things. And I have a house that is almost a full-time thing with trying to do repairs and fix it and clean it and keep it up. So it's like, to get anything done, I can't deal with 14 or 15 inboxes. So I don't get back to people as much as I could when I'm trying to repair a fence, keep a pool from turning green in 100-degree weather, manage, half an acre of foliage out there, grow food, and just deal with all this stuff that needs to be done. So I get a lot of messages and I miss things, and I wish I didn't miss things, but that's why I always tell people, put a boot in my ass if it's important. Keep sending me the message because I need that. But yeah, I get a lot of dumb stuff too. Yeah. I get a lot of dumb stuff. I get a lot of great stuff too. Like people sending me really great articles that I can use on the A show, or sometimes fans make art and I'm like, oh, that's really cool, and I'll repost it. Sometimes they'll do the create a wrestler and send me the link. So I get some amazing things as well. So it's
it's not all doom and gloom, so to speak. So.
Oh no, it's like everything in life. There's a balance. There's a gray area. So most of my fans now are amazing. I've managed to offend and generally piss off and enough of them with my opinions and my I don't give a fuck, which is I've been like I don't give a fuck ever since, I don't know, for a long time now. I've managed to keep them away with my writing and my opinions to the point where now I have cultivated the good ones. So I have some amazing people and amazing fans who are just phenomenal, and the ones who are crappy and weak and insulting and all those ones, they're not really around anymore. And this was advice given to me by Henry Rollins, actually.
Oh really?
Yeah, when I started writing, I wrote to him, I said, hey, how do you because I was watching his spoken word, I was like, because I'll reach out and write to people, I'll be like, hey this, hey that, I'll just write to people and see if they get back to me asking for advice. And he was one of them. I said, how do you say the things you say and not worry about alienating your fans? And he's like, fuck it. He's like, alienate them. He goes, it'll grow your audience to the people who value what you have to say. And it'll get rid of the ones who don't appreciate you for who you are. be authentic. And I was like, that's scary, but okay. I remember Mick Foley coming to me. We would have, go out to lunch, and he would say, God, I really appreciate how real and authentic you are. I don't think I could do that. I worry about, I worry about that. I'm not able to speak out like that. I was like, you can.
Mm.
So,
It's interesting once you get that fan base and you be like authentic and be yourself, and that's something that I've seen with my podcast. I've been doing this going on nearly 5 years, and the last year is I've really found my audience where I've been more direct and been more myself and be more authentic,
mhm,
and then having this loyal audience that will watch everything that I put out, every piece of content out I put out, regardless of the conversation or who the person is that I have on, or our live Thursday show, which gets wild and crazy and people drinking Fireball and doing edibles and just having a wild time. That's what the fucking, what I mean? When you're hanging out after the
yeah,
show, that's what it is, right? So, and having an audience that just gets in it and fucks with it and invests money into it. That's what it's about, is finding that core group of audience that sits there and go, hey, you know what? I really fuck with these people or this person. They put out really good content that I connect with on some form or level. You know what I mean? I'm going to tune the fuck in and support this. And that's when people sense when someone's talking to them in a genuine way, and when someone's just trying to sell them on some bullshit.
yeah, yeah, I'll agree. And I'm super grateful for the fans that I have. I've got some people that write to me and they're like, I've been around since MySpace days. We used to chat. Or I've been around since I did burlesque for a long time. I was on the burlesque circuit for many
Mm.
years. They're like, I remember you came to this club and performed. I'm like, oh, holy shit. So they'll send me like old pictures. I'm like, oh my God, holy shit. So yeah, it's phenomenal. I really, really appreciate not just the new ones, but the old
Mm.
ones too. I'm like, thank you for still being there. That's phenomenal. So
It
yeah,
is.
I appreciate that a lot.
That's when you got loyal people that have been with you for that long
Yeah.
of a time and supported you along the journey of, everything that, you've been able to do in life and endeavor. But, I do want to make sure that we are respectful of your time, because I know you've got some meetings to get to as well, April. But before we wrap it up, where can everyone find you? Where can everyone tune into the awesome A Show, the most awesome podcast in the world?
That's very sweet. Thank you. Yeah, you can let's see. We are live on Wednesday nights, so you can join me if you're watching or listening. Join us live, myself and Big Ray Hernandez, where we talk about all kinds of stuff on twitch.tv, the A Show, or on my YouTube page. It's April Hunter. And you can also find me on Patreon, April Hunter, if you want to support me and you love me and you want to put your money where your mouth is, because I love that stuff and I appreciate it. And you can also find me on Instagram, Real April Hunter, and Twitter, April Hunter, and of course on aprilhunter.net, but that one's over 18. So
There you go. Make sure you go and support April Hunter. Also, there you go. The queen of the packs doing the flex.
That's
But
right.
guys, hey, let us know in the comments, guys, if you want to see April Hunter join us on a Thursday night episode of True Story Thursdays
Ooh.
Live. Maybe we can persuade her. We can have a wild time. It'll be happening. But guys, until next time, this has been True Story, greatest podcast in the world. Till next time, take care. All the best. April, I appreciate you. Take care. Peace.